That should do it. Alright. Now it's time to say hi to everybody. Noot-de-doot. 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 And we'll go to good old Twitch, and we'll check ourselves out. Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I'm going to mute myself on Twitch, though. Okay. So, stream thing. I think I just do one of those. Looks pretty good. Maybe? I don't know. I'll give that a try. Oh yeah, T-shirt is doing a thing right now. Sorry, T-shirt, I'm doing my own thing at the moment. Do. I actually missed his last week because I was sick, and I felt really bad about that. Link. Host. Boop. There we go. That's my friends talking about salmon locks. Alright. Yes. Streaming my writing. Come on, watch me suffer. There we go. Hello. Hello. Okay, good. Let's sound check that thing. I look so depressed, my lord. Alright, there we go. Alright, looking pretty dang good. Pretty gang good. Oh my god. I probably should take like a shower or something before I put this ring light on myself. Let's scoot that back a little bit. That's kind of insane. Alright, that's... Yeesh. Look at this. Oh my god. I look like the T-1000. That's not a good look at all, fam. Okay, well, the ring light experiment was fun, but I look like a living corpse, so we're gonna do one of those with the ring light. And we're gonna stream in relative shadow. Actually, you know what? Let's do dramatic lighting. How's that? There we go. My dusty, unused guitar. I need to learn how to play that bloody thing. Alright, here we go. And that should be displaying my writing. Well, hello everyone. Actually officially going to start now. Goodness, now that all the technical stuff and spamming is out of the way. So what are we doing today? Well, I'm trying to make it a habit to write a little bit every day. I promised myself an hour a day, and then I promised myself an hour and a half every day. And I've been kind of sick recently, so I haven't been getting to this as much as I liked. And I had one of my my artists bug me a little bit for some work, so I thought, okay, let me take a brief break to work on the robot bestiary. So I worked on that for a little bit. And where's that at? Yeah, so you can see the bestiary getting written here. I actually have more written than that. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, in the Google, good old Google Dots. Dot. There you go. Yeah, see, there's actually more written. I should copy that over. And I've got all of the different, all the wonderful different monsters. Oh goodness. About halfway through writing them, and then I've got to stat them afterwards. So I've got one that's based on good old Scud the Disposable Assassin because I love him so well. Alright, let's see here. Ooh, you know what? I need to pop out the chat. Collapse. Expand. Twitch has updated our terms of service. Very good. Well, I accept. Pop out. There we are. So if any of you want to talk to me, you can. Boop. Okay, here we are. Now we're getting somewhere. Ooh, I don't like the way that displays at all. I really dislike this. I need to collapse this whole thing. What's the view there? Here we go. Show toolbar. I definitely do want to show that toolbar. Maybe it's the context toolbar? Oh, no, I want that too. I don't know what anything's called in this stupid program. Thank you. Doc tools, show tools, show text flow, column guides, margins, bleed. Oh, I've forgotten what it's called. I don't know what you are, but I hate you. Close? Oh. Well, that's not good. I kind of needed that. Oh well. Yeah, let's not mess with that too much anymore. Okay, anyway. I didn't come here to show you my incompetence at this. I came here to write, and write I shall. So, oh god. So if ever you get an idea that you want to copy, or rather do a tribute to a White Wolf gaming property from the late 90s, early 2000s, let me be the first to talk you out of it. First of all, they actually had a staggering degree of talent and technical skill, even at that early stage of TTRPG layout and design. So they did some amazing stuff, and it's possible to ape it with all the wonderful modern technologies that we have, but it's a surprising amount of work and vision that I absolutely have lacked. So it's so yeah, that's the first thing. The second thing is, and I alluded to this in previous videos. There was one where I talk about hating communists, and oh how I detest those terrible communists. But I talked about this a lot. They they're as a creative company, they had a lot of really great ideas, and their execution was well, it was consistently terrible. What was that? Oh my lord. This is a nice computer, but its processing power is not as amazing as I'd like. Anyway, uh, so so there I was with some cool robots, right? And I was like, oh, I can all I have to do is make robot flavored versions of powers I already made. How hard could this be? And how naive I was, because oh goodness, 1 o'clock already. See, I wisely put my phone close enough that I could mess with it, but far enough away that it wouldn't tempt me. Notice I put it in my lap again because the temptation has returned. But yeah, so okay. So what we're working on today is the robots. We've already written all the demon stuff, which was pretty straightforward. I actually played with the Infernals a lot back when I played Exalted, and so I was very conversant with the theory of how they worked. But I never got a chance to play with the alchemicals. I only really ran for one alchemical, and I think I made one alchemical character that I got to play for all of one session before it just completely fell apart. I just did not know what I was doing. Um, so yeah, so whenever I went to make my own robots, very rapidly I found that I was trying to, because they've got a really cool setting, right? They've got like this interesting like robot world that's like a factory and a world, and it's like completely sealed off from the outside universe, and so they're in this machine, you know, and they've got like this top down communist style society. Um, and they just got to keep the machines running. That's what it's all about. And their kind of exalts, instead of being heroes, are like just robots that they make to do cool stuff for them. And that's the setting and the pitch for the robots. And their powers are interesting because instead of, again, it's kind of a kung fu game. So like you get powers by training and learning them. And the robots don't do that. They just install robot bits and they fight with them. So that makes them really interesting. and eventually they can turn into really big machines like transformers, and they like transform into tanks and things like that. And in a long enough time scale, they turn into cities, like Metroplex or Unicron or all those wonderful Transformers toys that I grew up loving. Some of which I even owned, despite being pretty poor. I was able to afford toys, so that was cool. I guess I'll have the legs of my Metroplex. I don't think I got the rest of them. I think that he snapped in half on his wasp-like waist, and I kept his legs. So, just to give you an idea. But yeah, so when I went to read those powers, and I went through them in a lot of detail, I actually read that entire book, and the powers were really crunchy and clunky and hard to parse. The powers in Exalted itself are pretty straightforward. You know, you shoot energy beams out of your hand, or you say something and people like it. You know, you summon a magic sword, or you jump really high, or you're able to hide yourself super well. Or like if you're like one of the Lunars, you could transform into a different form, and it's pretty concrete what that does, right? And you'd think that the robot powers would be similar, but oh boy, would you be wrong, because they sort of straddle this awkward conceptual space. And oh god, how do I describe this? Okay, so so Exalted, really all White Wolf stuff isn't about it's not about, oh goodness, it's not scientific, right? It's more vibes based, it's more emotional. Okay, so with White Wolf stuff, a lot of times whenever they step into something that they're comfortable with, as a writer, like there's a lot of stuff that, or like, you know, Exalted especially has a lot of myth and a lot of like biblical stuff and a lot of anime. And so with all that stuff, you can kind of get what it's about pretty easily. Like, just like it's not like natural to throw a fireball in Street Fighter 2, but once you kind of get what it's doing in the game and how to do it, it's pretty easy, right? You can, it kind of clicks, you know. So like, okay, so there's something sort of organic about all of that stuff, and the parameters of it are a little fuzzy. So you can be kind of creative with it and still have something really discrete and concrete, right? So they did a really good job with that conceptual space, but they tried to do that with robot powers. And the thing about robot powers, and really anything that's kind of like gesturing at that harder sci-fi, the stuff that's a little more gear porny, you know. And what I mean by gear porn is like, you know, big transforming robots and stuff like that. You know, whenever the camera crawls in a movie over like all the cool like shiny gleaming chrome machinery, like that's gear porn, right? And guys go ape for that stuff. I go ape for it. It's wonderful. Um, but the thing about it is that it all has a discrete function. Do you remember in Iron Man 1 where like they take a long time to put the Iron Man suit together, and then when he re-engineers it, like it's a bunch of individual pieces, and they clearly show you what all the pieces do and how they fit together and integrate, and then some of the boundaries that they have, like whenever he flies it up into the stratosphere and it like frosts because it's so cold up there, and he goes falling down to his doom. And then later on, he gets like, you know, he's like, oh, why don't we just choose metals that don't frost as easily? You know, we'll just use those. And that's actually how he beats the bad guy, the Ironmonger. He's like, ah, how'd you solve the frosting problem? The guy's like, frosting problem, and he's like, anyway. So yeah, that's a really good movie now that I'm contemplating it. But there's a discreteness to the machinery, right? The machinery all does something very concrete and specific. Well, okay, so some of the charms in the alchemicals do that, and a lot of them do something that it really shouldn't be a robot part. Like there's like one that like lets you target a bunch of stuff, you know, and then you like lock it all in, and then you like throw an attack, and the attack gets some bonuses to hit those things and ricochet off of them. And like I get what you're trying to do there, but they already have that as a solar charm, right? There's already a throne charm that allows you to do that with a magical like boomerang, like, you know, throwing thing. It's basically a spell you cast on your boomerang, right? And so it's lazy first of all, but more than being lazy, it's conceptually messy to be like, oh, it's the same effect and really it looks the same, like it's the same aesthetic, but this is done with a robot part instead. They used a computer to do it. Like it's not even 100% clear that they have something recognizably computerish inside their heads. These these robot exalted, like they really do feel like they have a whole different tech tree that makes them work. Like you feel like there's a bunch of like glowing glyphs on clockwork inside their skulls. Like I don't think about it like a bunch of silicon and wires and things like I don't think about motherboards and computer chips inside the heads of the alchemical exalted. Like they just don't look and feel like that really, you know. Um, so it's a really awkward conceptual space where it's like they're trying to do kung fu stuff, but it's like oh, but it's done with machines instead of it being magical, and it's like well, you're just applying a different coat of paint to the same thing. It doesn't feel or work in a way that's like recognizably distinct. They do a good job in some ways. Like I like that you can put in and take out your robot powers. Like they're not like magic moves that you learn. They're like literal devices you install into your frame. That's really cool. I think that's nifty. But they still have a certain what's the word for it? Like a continuity that they have that I think isn't really becoming of of a pure machine. Like they're still like people basically, you know. And I don't know about that. I feel like one of the things that's really interesting about sci-fi is that there's not a continuity. You know, not concretely. Um, like you could have like a robot that like, actually I'm Legion I am Bob is really good for that where he's a computer and he like clones himself a bunch and all the clones are slightly different and there's like a real question of original identity and what it means to have like individual consciousness. um it's, anyway, so I didn't come here to tell you all that today. I came here to write stuff. But yeah, so don't try to redo what White Wolf did because I had to redesign this stuff from concept, and you can see this is hand drawn notes. This is the result of literal weeks of design thinking and tinkering and working. Like I actually had to find discrete things and powers that felt robot-y enough to me. I finally did manage to start kind of putting these guys together, and they've taken on a strangely angelic energy, which is contrasting very strongly with the writing I'll be doing today, which is the authoritarian style of robotic paradigms. This is all the stuff that was inspired by 1984 and similar sci-fi fiction, Brazil and stuff like that. This is all about reprogramming people and robocopping them and just doing terrible things and just being this awful unstoppable force of pure authoritative power. Um, oh yeah. Okay, so another thing that I've found as I've written these guys is sometimes I will have to I'll write something out. I'll just give it a try, right? And this is the battle tank chassis. Is I don't want to talk about this in general. Let me talk about this specific example. So the battle tank chassis here is the I turn into a tank power. Like if you are done being a person like character, and you now want to be a tank that has sentience and maybe some kung fu. This is the power that you take. And what I found um, what I found whenever I was designing this was that it felt a little bit too neat. Um, One of the things about these guys is that they too can uninstall and reinstall powers and that's one of the appeals of them being like robots is that you can like mix and match different parts. And so I found that just letting you be a tank was a little bit too pedestrian. And I know that sounds crazy, but it wasn't enough. So what I found as I was designing this was that I was making an assumption about their motility system, like what was moving them around. And I was like, wait a minute, they don't have to have this. They could cross pollinate between things. What if they wanted to do an aquatic tank, or like their version of a small like gunship, or if they wanted to fly, or if they wanted to have like spider arms or something? Does it have to be tank treads? And I was like, well, no, not necessarily. So I gave them a system default and I put it within the paradigm. So now they have the tank tread mobility system. But you could also just take this power and use it to make all sorts of different things mobile. Um, my son. Hey kiddo, I'm streaming. Oh my goodness. There we go. Let's see if anyone's talking to me right now. What section are you writing? Oh, hey Brendan. I'm doing Oh gosh, when did you send this? I can't keep this and this open because whenever I minimize it, it does this. Oh. Well, that's no good. Anyway, but today I'm doing the robots, the powers, particularly the 1984-ish like authoritarian, awful police state powers, because those are going to be a lot of fun. So here we go. Oh, where did I leave off? But yeah, anyway, so and this I didn't realize that we're going to be default mobility systems with these chassis powers until I just started kind of playing with them. So let's see. I actually do have one of these done. So here, let me show you again, and all my wonderful backers have access to this. Here we go. So the core robotics thing. This is what's shared between all the different robots, and I figured this would be kind of a good template to riff off of for the remaining paradigms, and something that would kind of unite them all. So I'd kind of have an idea for the base line of what the robot powers were, and here those are. The way I broke them up, and I really like this division. Again, this took a lot of design work to think this out, but I have the concealable powers, which are things that you could reasonably still look like a person and put on, or you could hide them, so it's not clear what these do. Like this one just lets you move your joints in any direction, and that's all it does. Like it doesn't do anything, but yeah, it just lets you spin around and twist and bend in weird ways. And you get advantages in the game if you use that in creative and surprising ways. Um, yeah, so the first time you use it on someone, you can scare them, and it gives you advantage in the fight. And it really only gives you like very minor benefits, but it's just really really cool. And I like that. Not everything has to be like a jaw-dropping superpower. Sometimes you just have a nifty power that you can use to use just to do interesting robot stuff with. I did the Go-Go Gadget power with this one, so you can be Inspector Gadget. Good old Brain Jack. This is the Jack into the Matrix power, but I made it a little more general. I just kind of assumed that whatever magic makes you work makes most of your robot world work, so you can just kind of like synchronize with whatever machine you can plug into, even if it doesn't really, even if you haven't, as a GM, I don't want GMs to have to write out personalities for every machine whenever they just describe machines in the world. But what I do want to happen is I want you as a player to be able to jack into any machine. And the way to fix that work problem is just say, okay, here's some general guidelines for making NPCs quickly for machines that could be like the machine spirit of that machine. So that's what that does, and so that's a lot of fun. You basically to treat objects like people, so that's fun. The synthetic limb is one of those things that is conceptually important to put down. It's your robot arms and your robot legs. Again, I just sort of assumed everybody would be a motile, like humanoid kind of robot, but that's not necessarily what everybody wants to do. So there's actually a lot of different versions of synthetic limbs. These are the standard arm and leg ones, and the benefit of writing them this way is that if you're, this is going to drive me crazy. There we go. If you're a person and you're replacing an arm or leg, you can just use this power. Ta-da! It just works like an arm or a leg. And I think, let me see. Yeah. Yeah, it can function as a defensive weapon. So you can use your arm or leg as a shield, basically, because it doesn't have any pain receptors. So that's all it really does. And goodness, I think I got everything hit points based on its size. So they also have their own hit points. And the again, I wasn't sure that how this was going to work until I just sort of started writing it down. But what happens is with an organic system, when you get damaged in this game, your the person that damages you chooses which part of your body to hurt, arm or leg or your torso or head or whatever. And an extension of that principle when you're a robot is that they do discrete damage to it. See, like you get a wound that gets worse whenever you're injured normally, and with this you simply take damage to that system, and it like gets more and more broken over time and has to be repaired afterwards, which feels really robot-y in play. So yeah, all these little things like that. Like I didn't know I was going to do that, and I didn't realize that they didn't do that Exalted. Like in Exalted, you just take health levels of damage. It's so weird. It's like you're just basically still just a person, and this feels much much more alien, despite only having a couple of rules tweaks. So that's a lot of fun. Oh, what's up, Adam? Good to see you, buddy. First time chatter, eh? Well, welcome to my stream, sir. I'm just talking, so I haven't actually started writing it. I'm psyching myself up for it. Let's see, where were we? Okay, anyway, yeah. So the paradigm, such as it is that you have concealable robot powers, and like, yeah, you know, you can wear a trench coat, and some of them are literally concealable, but yeah, like you've got a rocket fist, and this is just it's installed inside of your arm, and you could shoot it out and explode it. So that was a lot of fun. Some of these are suggestions, by the way, from my wonderful Discord. This thing, the core overload driver, someone suggested doing an overloader like oh, the guy in Ashura's Wrath. What is his name? Is it Ashura? Anyway, um, I think it is. Oh lord, it's been a while since I actually played that game. And he can like overload himself and shoot out lasers. And I was like, you know what? That's great. That's actually great. So I made a version of it that you can use. And again, that struck me as concealable. I've got a nav device and a radio comm installation, and those are sort of boring, bolted onto the wrist like a big wristwatch. But they're useful. Like this one means that you're never lost. I actually have a chart in the core book for when the players start wandering around and they're lost, because I always want something to be screwing you over if you don't have a plan. Because the new plan becomes you have to fight your way out of whatever you get yourself into, and the world wants to eat you. So yes, the psych up is an extraordinarily important part of writing. It's also fun to give people some context for what I'm having instead of just quietly sitting here tapping. So I'm trying to make this like a weekly thing where I just sit down and hold myself accountable to my Kickstarter patrons and backers and actually write for them. And doing that in a way that I get a bunch of attention works great for me because I'm a theater kid and I eat, drink, and live off of attention. Um, Anyway, so that's the concealable ones. The heavy ones are ones that are too big and bulky to conceal. Like you are going to obviously have a giant chainsaw instead of an upper arm with this power. This one gives you angel wings and you can fly. This one is actually tremendous. And I really heavily criticized the autochthonian charms, like the alchemical powers, because they were very long and very wordy and very specific, and they described a lot of stuff you couldn't do or a lot of the restrictions of powers. And so I made this power, and it wound up being freaking. This is like a whole page worth of powers. Right? It's tremendous. But there was a couple in there that I had to retract that criticism for, and they followed this general template where it wasn't just one power; it was a panoply of superpowers. Like, look at all this, right? Um, and they each have their own unique thing. And I felt like doing these as individual powers would have been sort of lame. I like the idea of this one modular set of systems that you can use for discrete challenges that you find. And you could like redeploy different kinds of environmental adaptations for them. I thought that was really cool. So, so yeah, I made it one giant power, which, yeah, it was a lot of writing, but I'm really happy with it. Yeah, missile pod. I really like the drone deployment installation. You legitimately just strap a drone onto your body, and you can dock it and repair it in your own body and deploy it to do stuff for you. This right here, this guy here, this is something that should probably be keyworded. This is the stuff I was complaining about within uh, within the alchemical textbook, and honestly, I think if I remember correctly, a lot of this wording is inherent right here in this keyword which I have in the core book. So I'm gonna have to. This is something I'm probably going to rewrite at some point in the not too terribly distant future. But yeah, so this is writing I would criticize. It doesn't really say much. It just kind of goes on about corner cases. It's just not necessary to put all of this in text form. Or if you do, you should put it in text form in one easy to locate area and not like because this is written such as that I would have to rewrite this entire giant brick of text, which is ridiculous. Um, Grappling Ledge, that was another suggestion from people on the forums or the Discord. It's not really forums, but it feels like forums because they're all degenerates there. You know who you are. But yeah, so the Grappling Lance Launcher, this one was fun to write because it would never have occurred to me to make something like this. For me, like robots have like lasers, right? Like that's like, I want to give a robot a laser or a gun or something. The Lance Launcher, though, bleh, I got to name it something less tongue twisty. It has this cool power where you shoot a harpoon and you reel stuff in, and you can either reel in objects or if they're heavy enough, you reel yourself towards the object, and it's amazing. And I never would have thought of it, and it's so wacky and fun, and it sounds like it's going to be a real blast to play this thing. So, like, this is something I am really looking forward to someone actually using, because it's so damned cool. Um, it's not. I don't know. The thing about it is, it seems like it's designed to create cool and interesting things happening in the game. It's not necessarily designed for this discrete efficiency. It's really sort of designed for the opposite. It's kind of inefficient, right? Like it's not great as a weapon. It's not great as a mobility system, but it meets both of those things in this messy halfway point, which just delights me. There's so much you can do about that because it's not a perfect fit for anything. You have to find a creative way to make it fit stuff, and that's design that to me is really exciting. That's the stuff where I'm like, oh, this is going to be awesome in game. And like you wouldn't think stretchy grabby hand or something like that would be some mind blowing thing, but that's Bionic Commando, and it's one of the funnest games ever. Um, so yeah, word to the wise: if you're a designer, this is actual good advice I could give you. Find like design powers that you are required to use creatively. They don't have an ideal use, because they make some of the most interesting things happen in the game. So yeah, it's that right there is a lesson that I learned as I was writing this, and I was really like, whenever I got that suggestion, I was like, ugh, that's stupid. I can't use that. And nope, that suggester on the Discord was so much smarter than me. Man, you taught me a lesson. So wrong about that. I was completely incorrect. This is one of my favorite powers now. Goodness. I with these. Okay, so this is another interesting one. Mechanical Divinity Vestment. It's a deployable robot priest robe that makes you fight demons. And you can also there's also like a I think this is a laser. Yeah, this is a divine laser, and I have several versions of this that shoot demons because as I was writing them, the robots became kind of weirdly angelic. So you got like holy powers because you've got a robot god. Uh, Notice I use the word like divine a lot. Yeah, demon eradication system. Let's see. This is just a bigger version of the brain jack from earlier. You can just basically you can deploy crystal drones to be a brain jack network for yourself. So this is a really fun power. Again, this is one of those ones that's not a perfect fit for anything, and I can see it getting used and abused in really fun ways by players. And it doesn't. It's written in a very neat way where like it's pretty clear how it's supposed to work, and it's discreet. These little robot things come out of you, and they just do what you do. They brain jack into stuff, and you can talk through them. Um, so yeah, that's really fun. Let's see. The Steel Titan chassis is the you turn to a big robot. You're the Iron Giant with this one, so that one's pretty straightforward. And notice again that it's got the default mobility system. It's just got big ol' legs, and I've specifically said they are configured to a larger size, so that's a lot of fun. Um, let's see. Yep, default manipulator installation points. So I also had to separate uh, the kinds of the kinds of uh, things you could install. Excuse me. And I may keyword this a little more strictly, but right now you have manipulator joints that allow you to put in like arms and weapon things, and then you have mobility hard points where you can put in movement systems like legs or treads or whatever. And I didn't have that before. Before it was just you have one generic type, and so you could be like all arms, which I mean that's cool, but it's also like all right, if you I've just I can just see some troll player doing like a whole bunch of treads and having no arms or something, so they're just like this wheel made of wheels. I mean, like on the one hand, I love the goofiness. Like you gotta respect the hustle on that. On the other hand, I want a functional, usable system that does something that is like within the realm of a thing that you would actually want to do. Uh, oh, good old Flatman. Yes, that's amazing. I'm terrified of trying to write a superhero system, Adam, for that very reason. Uh, oh my god. It reminds me of the Doorman. Remember the Doorman from the Great Lakes Avengers who had no power of his own beyond the fact he could stand on a like against a wall, and he just made a him-sized cutout that other people could walk through. So I thought that was a great character. Let's see. Okay, so big robot. That one's easy. And then the transformation sprocket is actually sold that from Transformers One. It's the thing that lets you turn between a big robot and a vehicle. So this is the one that you're all going to use to be a transformer. It's all it does, and I love it. And it's a power. Let's see. You can turn into a car with this one. This is the car power. And these are the wheels. And the fun thing about separating the car body from the wheels is now you can have flying car, you can have floating car, you can have rocket car, you can have car that has Doc Ock limbs that Doc Ock's around with him. You could have Spider car, and I don't mean like the just normal car that a Spider-Man, you know, paint scheme. I mean like legitimately has like spider legs, giant steel spider legs. Uh, and you could also take the wheel mobility systems, and I even had to put in rules for how many wheels you are using to move with. Like a single wheel would be really awkward and unstable. Um, but it would be cheap because you'd only need to put in one. So you could use your other leg for kicking. Oh, dude, you got to read the Great Lakes Avengers. You particularly would love it, Adam. So if you get a chance to check it out, they're not all winners. Big Bertha is just a big fat lady who's really strong. So that's not like that great conceptually. And Squirrel Girl winds up joining them, but like they have really good ones like Mr. Immortal, where like he dies and then another him comes in from off panel, so he's unkillable, but he's really just a dude. So like, so there'll be times when like they need someone who can't die to do a mission. Like I think at one point he had to go into a nuclear reactor and shut it down. So like he's like, okay, this is gonna take a while, and like so eventually he's at the middle of the reactor and he's like messing with it, and there's just like this string of hymns in various forms, like various stages of decay behind him where he's previously died of radiation poisoning getting there. Um, so that's a fun character. You gotta love that. Here we go. All right. I've got a upgraded version of the drone power. This is a whole drone nest platform. Oh, this level right here, the industrial level, is the turn into a vehicle level of stuff. This is the time to be Mecha Godzilla level stuff. And yeah, the Deity Annihilation Integrated Weapon System. This is an artillery installation for shooting gods. Just in case you thought I didn't love you, well, I do, and I want you to kill God. And the very final tier is the turn into a city power. These like the ones in the demon section are pretty like short. They look like they don't do much, but they turn you into a whole damned city. So they actually do quite a bit. Um, yeah, and the full rules for that are in a gigantic multi-page keyword that explains how you run that. But yeah, so this is just like the tip of the iceberg. This is kind of like the fun part of that power, and the workhorse of that power is. Let me see if I've got it here. I don't think I've totally finished right. Yeah, see all that red text? That's the stuff I haven't written in that yet. So here is where that begins. Yep, Clockwork Transcendence. So here's one page. 2 page, yeah, 2.5 pages of this. So this is, and you'll notice that this text is almost identical to the demonic turn to a city text. It really is the same power. It's just like there's a few little things that are different here. Like I've renamed things, so central ego chamber instead of the central throne room shrine or whatever I called it, the artificial dharma dynamos. Yeah, there's a few little changes. Some of them are just as simple as that. Some of them are a little more complicated. Like it's assumed that every part of your weird demon city body is kind of alive, and I don't really want to make that same assumption with the robot body. I want it to be like robots, their bodies are kind of foreign to themselves. They don't have something like purely native about anything in them. They're purely artificial, right? And so like they don't feel the loss of their arm like a human being who grew an arm does, right? They just put on another one. Because it's just a thing. Everything about a robot is just a thing. And so I want that sense of being kind of alienated from your selfhood to permeate being a machine. Because I feel like you can become very human with the robots. Like if you go the kung fu powers route instead of the ever larger robot powers route, then you become more human. You get like a soul. And so although you're a robot, like you have a sort of integration of your physical form and your identity, and you create like a living destiny for yourself. But if you decide to turn into, you know, a giant robot and then a city, you're choosing to take the robotic aspect of your being and say, this is the true selfhood that I could actually achieve. So you're abandoning that humanifying destiny. Man, this is all really cool. I'm I don't think I've written a single word yet. But yeah, so I some of it some of the city powers are going to be rewritten a little more substantially. Like instead of just making more thematically appropriate body parts, like just by expanding the city, instead you actually have to make discrete like places that work within the grid of you, right? They have to actually link them up to you in like a more concrete way. It's not just conceptually linked and magically linked. It's a physical link, right? Um, so yeah, that brings us to what we're working on today. So there are three other paradigms aside from the core robotics paradigm. The authoritarian one is based on 1984 by George Orwell, and again, other creepy kinds of like dark dystopian sci-fi like that. It's RoboCop is a big example. The anarchist is a little more cyberpunky. This one is supposed to be about radical personal expression and transhumanism through technology and that kind of stuff. So it's a lot. It's a much more radical, energetic kind of way of doing people turning into robots. You know, so this one's a little more fun, a little more playful, and definitely more chaotic. Um, it also, let me see. It also is based a little more on stuff like Brave New World, which is like a dystopia through pleasure. So there's a lot of drug powers, yeah, that allow you to control people by addicting them to things. Uh, and that's the anarchist paradigm, and then the aristocracy paradigm is the one that Mammon uses, and this one's based a little bit more on stuff like oh like Bioshock and System Shock and all of those kinds of games, which have kind of an what was the I'm trying to remember that stupid sort of an Atlas Shrugged energy where it's more about like it's like techno capitalism, I guess, and the excesses thereof. Um, so it's about, and unlike the other societies, which the authoritarian one is humans in charge, and using mind control and propaganda and a brutal police state to enforce their will from the top down. The anarchists are more like 50-50. It's about like embracing the transhumanism and finding like a more radical and free paradigm in which to exist. And then the aristocratic ones are, well, what if the robots who are perfectly suited to this robot world were actually in charge? And it's still top down, but they do run it like a sort of cyber feudalism, where an individual powerful robot will just have like more or less a fiefdom of like human serfs that do stuff for them. So it's a very different way of doing things, and so I thought that feels very Atlas Shrugged to me. That feels very Galt's Gulch to me. So that's what their powers are all about, and they've got some really cool tech. Because I feel like capitalists should always have the coolest tech, uh, but like it's yeah, it's not. None of these are nice. Like these are all like their own kind of dystopia. Uh, so yeah, and then below all those, I've only got three different kinds of kung fu right now. It's not it's not bigly impressively creative, but yeah, so that's where that is. Those are written down conceptually, so I've just got to write those. I've not bothered to. I'm trying to get the hard work done first. And as you can see, I actually have individual powers that I've written throughout this process. This is, oh goodness. Actually, let me see if I have the old writing here. I think I do. I think I do. I think I can't. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so here's the first run at this, and it was way different. You can see I've got militaristic, which was going to be the military ones, authoritarian, which survived, radical, which changed to anarchist, and then utopian, which was supposed to be the good guy faction. And then I realized very rapidly that wasn't going to work. The closest I get to utopia was the pleasure dystopia of Brave New World. And then I was like, okay, so are people going to get that I'm naming this ironically now that I've realized this isn't going to work? Um, and I was like, well, maybe. But yeah, I decided I was just going to do something a little bit different with all of it. So yeah, it had a very different form. And so some of these are holdovers or rewrites of powers that existed in those earlier versions and earlier takes. And yeah, so that's where we are today. Goodness, that's a lot of background there. But yeah, we're working on No, we're not working on anarchists. We're working on the authoritarians today. So, as you'll note, I've got a few powers to the authoritarians. As the 1984 slash RoboCop guys, I felt pretty scummy writing for these dudes. Um, and you'll note that some of these powers are really long. Like, some of them are justified in being long. The mimetic virus engine is freaking cool. It's actually so cool, I might move it to a more rarefied part of the power set because it feels kind of accessible for how powerful it is right now. Some of them I'm not sure about in terms of the length. Like this one right here, the uncanny imitator implants. So what this does, and I'll just bullet point it, is it makes like false skin over you and it turns you into a human basically. It makes you a terminator. So you've got like fake skin and you're all robot underneath, right? So that's what this is about. And I'm not tremendous on the way I wrote it. Um, yeah, so you literally load it with a disguise kit that it extrudes outward to make a unique disguise. So, yeah, I like this first bit where it's talking about the disgustingly inhuman way that you have to act like a human, that you mimic them. I'm cool with this description here because it kind of parameterizes how long that takes to do. Um, how long it lasts is here, and like what kind of stuff you can still get away with as a robot. Like a lot of your augmentations, since they're concealable, will be concealed underneath your weird robot body or your weird human fake skin. Um, and this kind of like talks about that. Like so, the assumption is that any concealable powers you can use selectively as long as they're not too disruptive. Uh, then I go on here and I'm like, well, what if you wanted to skin over some giant ungainly robot part? You could be like a deformed person, so you could have like some like a huge hunchback or like a big clubfoot like that guy in Fury Road. So like, okay, I guess you could do that. It was me like shrugging and saying, okay, fine, why not? But that like, okay, at this point we are, I mean, that's the fourth paragraph, and it's pretty, as you can tell, it's very chunky, and it's an exception to how I initially, conceived of it. I could have just written down that you couldn't do it, but I was like, nah, I want them to be able to get kind of weird. Uh, then I talk about how human you are again, which I might just delete that entirely because I feel like that's already pretty much covered in that first paragraph, right? But I put in some fun writing there. And then I've got, oh, okay, so here's the parameterized version of, like, what's the senses skill to see through this? Um, Again, I don't know how necessary this is. Like, because I'm saying right there that, oh, you got senses 6, you can see through his disguise. Do I need to set that in stone? Can't GMs figure that out for themselves? Uh, yeah. Hmm. What that does is it weakens the utility of this power. And there's not really a great reason to do that. I'm not really afraid as a designer of them just being hard to find, right? So the actual function of this, and this is part of me writing, by the way, is evaluating what I've previously written and deciding whether it gets to live. Like, if I deleted both of these, there would really be no loss of information, right? Like I'm not making this power any like substantially different, weaker or stronger. I'm just removing things that don't necessarily need to be concretized. So, uh, these last two paragraphs I'm interested in. Yeah, I'm just gonna kill these. I don't need those. Um, these last two paragraphs I'm interested in. I legitimately just talked myself out of writing, so I'm actually kind of going backwards here. But yeah, so I like these because they talk about how this affects your identity. Um, that you actually make a unique identity for your disguise, and whenever you take the disguise off, it drives you a little insane. So, interestingly enough, you can use this to become more human because it has overclock 0. Overclock is what you weigh against your burgeoning humanity. Um, So if you just use this and you genuinely try to like engage with people, that's awesome. But the second you actually take off the disguise, you go kind of nuts, and you gain a D5 overclock immediately, and it just sticks around for the rest of the arc as you deal with like the psychological scarring of destroying a piece of yourself that had its own life. So I don't have to put those last two in, but I'm going to because I really want to make sure I'm adding some fun stuff for the players to have to deal with. And I like the idea that like you can use this to become more human. I don't know, there's something about that that really charms me. Maybe that's just Terminator 2 talking, but I think it's great. But yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting power that could be used in some fun, scummy ways. Um, and I think this right here, the when you dissolve it, you dissolve a part of your identity. I think that's great because it doesn't actually hurt you. Having overclock doesn't hurt you in a very tangible way. It just makes it harder for you to pass off as a human being or to use like human empathy or persuasion. That's all it does. So if you're the kind of person that would use like disguise after disguise heartlessly to manipulate people, this puts an upward limit on how much you can do that because you'll gain so much overclock that you become a robot and it's clear to them that you're just a robot, right? Even if you've got a human disguise on. It's also pretty expensive in terms of the reloadable disguise kits. Like, how many of those are you going to go through? So yeah, I like that. I think that's enough to kind of, again, to rein it back into something that's a little more, uh, a little harder to manipulate and a little more fun to use. Okay, what else did I do here? Audiovisual imprint recorder. You can record stuff. You are a living spy camera. Doppelganger mimic modulator. This is the only power I've made so far, I think, that works with a previous power. So lets you mimic somebody's voice. Um, and if you have this and the uncanny imitator implants, yeah, you can duplicate a specific other person. So that's really cool. Oh, let's see here. Oh, I'm gonna talk so much I'm gonna fall asleep. So exciting. Thanks for tuning into my stream, everyone. Let's see. Goodness. Okay, these are a little more complicated because I have two that kind of do the same thing. They hypnotize people. Let me reread these real quick. When activated, your voice becomes a broadcaster for hypnotic suggestion. Deliver a command. Okay, so this is a rank 6 hard action, basically. I immediately act on your suggestion, so they loyalty 10, or they may be activated at a later date to do so. This requires a trigger of your naming. Okay, so this is a very simple program, a guide to do a thing for you once. I think that it's appropriate to put a scope on this because this is definitely going to be used against player characters by bad guys at some point, and it's important that they have some capacity to say no to it. Let's see. Let me see here. The problem I have with this, the way this works, is that currently, let's see. Hmm. So we have to count this in terms of creating an imbalance. This creates an emotional imbalance. Extremely brittle. Incredibly brittle, but incredibly effective once. That's definitely how you spell mechanical. Here we go. There we go. Okay, so this couches this in terms of how the system actually functions. Whenever you're subject to any kind of social influence, or really any kind of magical influence, or anything like that, you really do get a say in how that manifests. So this could be a power that is do as you are told for the cost of 5 prana, or suffer up to a 6 die penalty to your actions. That's pretty mean. Like that's pretty powerful, but not. Let me see. It is pretty powerful actually. Like, because I'm really looking at it in terms of, you know, compared to other powers of the similar cost. Oh, excuse me. Compared to other powers of the similar cost, is it too much? And having a 6 die penalty, like a maximum of a 6 die penalty, is pretty crazy. Um, Usually, I'm trying to think here. Usually with cost 5, you would probably have no more than a 3 die penalty. So this is doubling that, which is really powerful. Mm. Hmm. How to preserve this? How to preserve this? Okay, so and this is one of those things where until you start getting into it and thinking about it consequentially, it's kind of hard to come to a decision. So the hypnotic suggestion Vox broadcaster, the idea of that is that you program somebody with a single command, right? It's simple, it's direct, it's straightforward, and they either have to do it immediately, or you can program them with a trigger that makes them do it later. It's pretty obvious, but that's very powerful. And that works great on NPCs, right? There's no problem with using that against a 1 die adversary. Almost anything kills them, right? They're kind of below the notice of the rules, but there's enough mechanical fidelity there they can actually do stuff, right? The problem comes in whenever a player or a bad guy uses this on a player character, you know. At that point, you have to think about it in terms of overall choices, right? Like, what is the trade off for like taking this power instead of another power? If you make a power where you're basically an idiot for not taking it because it's the best of all possible options at that tier, you have failed as a designer. You've said, okay, there are other options on paper, but you're dumb for all of them aside from this one. And you can do that. Like if you're like telegraphing that to players and saying, okay, this is the correct option. The rest are like booby prizes, and you can take them if you want, but they suck comparatively. But if you don't do that, you have simply failed as a game designer. You've made a one true way that everyone's going to take, and in the long game, it's going to be the only choice. So you don't want to do that. So I'm a little worried about the hypnotic suggestion Vox broadcaster doing that. Um, as a design principle, most most powers have, oh goodness, what are the costs? I'm trying to think of the different tiers of cost of these things. I believe it is 3 as a base cost. And is it 12 next? I want to say 12 is next. Um, oh goodness, now I gotta look. All right, everybody, hold on just a second. I'm gonna open up my own copy of my own game and see if that's right. So let's look at some powers real quick. For example, let's check out good old Heaven and Earth Romance. Okay, so yeah, the novice powers are generally cost 3. Some of them are cheap, like the Lion's Paw Swipe is pretty cheap. But yeah, and then yeah, it goes to 12 with expert level stuff, and you'll notice that rank 3 gets you, or cost 3 gets you rank 1 as a general trade-off. Um, yeah, so rank 3 costs 12, which is 4 times as much. But they also have cool things that they do. Um, the problem is that I've made something that costs 5, which is a little awkward in terms of cost, right? It's between these two, but not exactly halfway. So if it were exactly halfway, you could probably easily justify it being rank 2, which would be fine. But right now, I have something that is rank 6, which is twice of this, where less than half this cost. And although this does actual damage or does actual defense against actual damage, so it's more, the utility is stronger because these things can kill you. Like, crippling someone's ability to act by throwing a 6 die penalty on them is pretty damned similar to killing them outright. So let's see, where's my little chat thing? There you are. Come to Papa. All right. So yeah, so right away, I can tell I've been sloppy with the design here. So this, I want to preserve the whole immediacy thing. So what I might do is I might say cost variable, right? For a heart action. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say the rank this action is +1 per 3 prana spent on activating this augmentation, up to a maximum of 18 prana for +6 ranks. Of this heart action. Is delivered via a heart action. Oh my lord. Increased by +1. And never let it be said that I can spell. There we go. So here we go. This is a little bit better right here. I'm basically, it's not exactly correct in terms of the way I balance the powers that the that the ranks are worth 3 prana each. The amount of ranks actually, uh, the actual formula for that, as I recall, it's been a little while. I wrote it down forever ago, and I don't remember where I put it. But the actual formula for it is the ranks increase in prana cost for how many ranks there are overall, and it's not linear. And the bigger the range, the more they cost as well. So this is still a huge discount at this price, but it's a simple cost per effect mechanism, which makes it a lot more usable. Um, let's see. I want to slim down the rest of this writing as well. Let's see. Okay, so I like the idea that this is a one and done sort of thing. And I also like the idea that it's resisted by taking a negative. Um, most imbalances are, they're designed such as that you resist them with a skill that everyone has access to. Heart's one of the 7 core skills, so everybody can use it. So you can just take your highest ranked set and say, okay, I'm defending against this attack with this defense, and it's not distinct from normal attack and defense, right? Not mechanically. The only place that's distinct in is in its damage, because instead of hurting you and taking away health and causing a physical imbalance, this doesn't do that. It can't kill you, but it can screw with you. And it does that by surpassing health entirely and just creating the highest possible ranked imbalance for this social programming. That's not too bad. I would say that kind of balances itself. That's the general assumed balance of social stuff versus physical stuff. Physical stuff can kill you, and so it's a death spiral when you start taking that damage, right? But social stuff can't kill you. It can screw with you, but it can't kill you directly. And so the balance of not being able to kill you directly is that you can have a stronger. You're gonna wind up getting more damage overall because you blunt. Uh, you blunt the rank of the damage that you take turning into a physical imbalance by your health. Your health and your aura can both reduce that significantly. Aura completely blunts huge chunks of it, right? And health can blunt up to 9 points. Actually, even more than that, because every 9 points that you subtract off, um, like it's able to, it's potentially able to completely remove any imbalance, and that's with every single rank. Like, of course, if they get through all 9 points at the 10th point, they get the whole rank of imbalance. But depending on how you do it, you will usually be a rank or two lower just because you have health. Because you'll hit a jagged edge of like 3 or 4 health in a level, and then the last health level that you use will be up to 9 points that you're blunting that last one with. So I would say 1 to 2. You're 1 to 2 ranks shorter, probably 3 or 4 on average with the use of aura. So yeah, being able to kill someone and that generally getting blunted by the shielding of health and aura, that's a pretty good balance, I think. So I don't have to worry about that too much. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. For the most part, there are not pure social attacks in this game. That's not a universal, but for the most part, what you have is a normal attack that you can instead use as a heart action. And if you have like the art of the courtier, you can make specific powerful imbalances. So so yeah, I don't want this to be the de facto best use of heart ever, and I think that it might be. Let's see. I'm trying to work through this. I think it might be. Oh goodness, because it is a one and done thing and not an ongoing negative. I would say that the overall cheapness is probably a good trade off for that. Because most imbalances will either give you a negative or they will force you to act in a certain way. This only does that during one round when you activate it. So I think that making this one cheaper overall and making it more limited in what it can do is probably fine to make it cheaper prana-wise, because it's a simpler costing mechanism. So yeah, okay. I think that this works just as it's written now. I'm just going to do this. Yeah, here we go. Okay, no, that works. Yeah, actually, that works pretty good. I'm okay with this. So I think that overall, again, that writing is a little bit flabby. Um, like right here, this is a little flabby. It's fine. It's clarifying text, but it makes it a little bit chunky. Um, but it's pretty clear what this is doing. The costing is pretty clear. Da, 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 da. Let's swap where these are. Yeah, here we go. And we can do this here. Yeah, it's a little better. So now we've got the costing mechanism a little closer to the beginning. 3 prana per rank, max plus 6. Added rank. There we go. So now we've got that repeated, so it's pretty clear how that works. And we'll save. Okay. So now the hypnotic suggestion vox broad, the magic voice is done. So that's how you balance a power, people. It's a little bit flabby, and again, I feel like one of the problems with having to write these powers as I am is that all of the pioneering that I did for the normal powers is gone. So this doesn't work exactly like a power. So it has to explain itself a little bit more, and that's a little bit frustrating. It's like this is a hard action. Anyway, mimetic virus engine. Okay, what does this one do? Oh, that's cool. There's a mimetic virus container. Oh yeah. Okay, so this thing is cool. This makes an actual virus, which is an idea which they spread to their populace. So this is the social programming power. Let's see. What I like about this is it has a certain amount of time where it spreads, and then you can make a counter argument that immediately creates an antidote to it that destroys it. So that's fun. Once activated, the single mimetic virus container installed in your brain shatters and must be replaced. Um, you know what? No notes. Mimetic virus engine, you're perfect. Pain amplifier, which is just straight up stolen from Judge Dredd. Let's see. Causes intense pain. Yep. What were the levels of that pain? Okay, yeah, it's rank 3, so that's fine. How expensive are you? That's a little powerful for 3 prana, but it's fine. Um, yeah, it's fine. I'm not really that mad about it. 2 is too little. I really don't want it to be too much more expensive because then it loses all utility. I could make it cost 4 or 5, but honestly, like, I don't think it's powerful enough to justify that. This might be a little powerful in terms of raw mechanics. I think I'm just gonna keep it though, because it's very characterful, and it just makes people feel pain. I love it. There's enough going on with how you have to use it, and it's fragile enough that I think that I can get away with it just as it's written. It might prove too powerful in playtesting. That's what playtesting is for. Let's see. Loaded along the ulna, beneath the dermis outer shell. Yep, it's just a shotgun under your arm. Okay, so I actually only have 2 to write at this level. I've got the bulletproof trench coat, which is exactly what it sounds like, and the thermal ocular enhancements, which are the thermal goggles. Hooray. Okay, so, attached to the outer dermis, like a cloak. Easily mistaken for clothing. There we go. This doesn't have a cost, so we're not going to worry about cost. It's just armor. There's no ammo. Don't have to worry about that. Effect. Let's see. Armors you in a long leather style trench coat. Complete with shoulder armor and a tactical vest. This heavily reinforced but lightweight material is powerful armor. Rank 10. Blah, that's not how you spell material, Joel. Okay. Trenchant. That's what I meant to spell. Actually, I think trench coat. Yeah, I think trench coat is just 2 distinct words. I always want to do it as a compound word, but I think it is just a trench coat, a coat for the trenches. Material. Is material A? Yeah, there we go. This powerful armor and allows perfect freedom of movement and impressive storage space. It's lined and riddled There we go. Size 3. It's about as size as a person. Overclock 1. No keywords. Duffel. Is duffel a word? Like, is that like a... That's a good question, actually. I don't know if a duffel bag is like a copyrighted thing. Oh, was I just spelling it wrong? It is. It's trademarked. Yeah, town in Flanders, Belgium. Wow. Look at that. Oh, look at that. Yeah, I like the shoulder straps one, the one I was thinking about. Okay, so there's multiple spellings. Duffel, duffel. Alright, well maybe... Okay, so duffel is the more common American English one. Interesting. Alright, well, learn spelling. If that's copyrighted, I guess I'll get in trouble for it. Okay, that one was easy. It just gives you cool armor. 10 might be too much. Well, 10 means that, like, you are reducing all damage done to you by a rank. Ooh, do I want to do that? You know what? I'll tell you what. I've got this pulled up. It is basically like body length, like head to toe Kevlar tack armor stuff. Like, it's really, really good. So 7 is what that is according to the armor chart. 8 is magical armor. 9 is blending science and sorcery, and 10 is divine armor. So let's make it 7. Let's just make this really, really good armor. I say rank 7. I'm going to call it rating 7. There we go. Okay, so that's really cool bulletproof trench coat. Happy about it. You know, actually, I should make a distinction of bulletproof being something that reduces damage from ranged attacks by an additional amount. But that might be too much fidelity for my system. It also might be boring. So I'm not going to worry about that at this exact moment. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Okay, so I actually already have, and one of the things that I like to do is I like to reduce my workload by taking writing I've already written and I just not necessarily copy and pasting it, but using that writing as the template for future writing that kind of tackles the same subject. So for thermal ocular enhancements, I'm pretty sure I have eyeball something or other that I've already written. So the double reason for doing that, and there's a lot of benefits to it, but the two big reasons is it's a lot less work if you do it that way. Number one, and then number two, it allows you to make certain that you have a continuity and a consistency within your writing. Let's see if I do have anything. Yawning. All that coffee really made me sleepy. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Okay, well this is pretty good. Let's take the audiovisual imprint recorder and use that as the basis for this, and we're just going to rewrite it. Um, Installed over the eyes. As concealable, but as large metal plates. Yeah, there we go. And then activated. These devices scan your field of vision with a powerful thermal ocular Oof. This is a senses action of rank. And now I can just look up the senses action that does that. This was the limitless benefit of writing down how different skills function, is that you can always just look at what you've written and say it gives you this. Oh, I love it. Okay. Okay, so it requires rank 10 to hide from thermal imaging. So that indicates to me that this is a rank 9. Alright, so this is a... let me see. This allows you to see the heat and energy from all objects and subjects that you can see. You can see how hot or cold anything is with perfect accuracy. This is in addition to your normal vision. You can effortlessly tell the difference between a living and dead body, for example. Not be fooled by an enterprising commando that coats himself in clay. He still looks like a muscular soldier. There we go. This sees through most attempts to hide, but as explained by the senses chart, a rank 10 plus action to hide cannot be detected even by these instruments. There we go. Let's break that up. That'll work pretty good. It's a little clunky, but I like it. There's a lot of fun writing in there. And it's clear what it does. Let's give this a keyword. There you go. And it'd just be sustainable like normal. So okay, that's the lowest tier of the authoritarian stuff actually written. I wrote 2 new powers today. Feeling happy about that. I edited down some other powers and clarified them. So that's good. So now, ooh, what's that exo armor do? I actually already wrote this. Let me see. Plates character in thick ablative armor. Grants 2 Titan armor. It all incoming damage. More powerful attacks by 1 rank. Yeah, actually, exo armor is great. I love that. Just straight up, like, ignore things of power 2 or less. You're bulletproof. That is actually bulletproof. So that's cool. It is really heavy. Well, it's at least really big. Let's add some weight to this. This increases the character's weight by... Ooh, how heavy is each individual sheave of tank armor? Tank armor plate weight. Okay, here we go. Look at this. Yeah, here we go. A single plate might weigh between 150 and 400 pounds. Goodness, that is very heavy. Ooh, what's this? You gotta love all this military porn stuff. Armored Republic blog. Oh, look at those! Oh, all this cool stuff. Freedom of choice. The level 3 plate that started it all. Alright, give me some pictures. Oh, so cool. Yeah, I love this stuff too. And this is the kind of energy that you wanna have whenever it comes to designing robot powers. You want to be able to look this stuff up. Oh, cool! I can do more AI crap that I don't care about. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that though. All right, so oh, actually, you know what I'm envisioning with this particular dude? God, what was it? Oh, I can't remember the name of the anime. It's gonna drive me crazy. Oh, darn. Yeah, I can't remember now. There's one particular anime where, oh god, what was it? They had some really extremely armored dudes, and I am blanking on the name. I'm just gonna look up anime armored cop. Yeah, this one. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Jinro the Wolf Brigade. They're these guys. Yeah, it was Jinro. Armor. This crap. This is what I'm envisioning them wearing with this. It's just unbelievable amounts of armor. Look at this. So let's... Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, Kerberos Panzer Corp. Jinro armor for sale. Yeah, this is all like cosplay armor though. Alright, so man-portable armor it couldn't possibly be so heavy. Oh, I don't care about Pinterest. But it couldn't possibly be so heavy that like a person couldn't carry it, right? You could make it pretty heavy, but you know there's a trade-off in that because like you're sapping people's ability to operate for a prolonged period of time, right? So you want it to be heavy enough, or you want it to be protective enough that it can save them in a bad situation, but lightweight enough that they're not like sapping their endurance. But with a robot, with a goddamned robot, that's much less of a consideration. So I'm just gonna say that it increases their weight by half a ton. There we go. So that's pretty fun. This is a lot of armor, and it really changes the game in terms of like how you deal with them. So yeah, I want that to have a significant drawback in terms of size and in terms of weight, because you don't have normal human endurance. So let's see here. Okay. All right. So let's look at a tear gas grenade launcher real quick. Do 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 do. No. I know I have it. Okay, here we go. Oh, I got all this stuff. Tear gas grenade launcher. Gotta launch those tear gas grenades. Oh goodness, there's lots of different ones. Let's try this one. Ooh, that's cool. No, I'm thinking about the ones with the big what do you call it? The cylinders on the bottom of them. Let's just yeah, here we go. Yeah, these guys. That's what I'm thinking about. Ooh, did you see that one? Oh, that's cool. It's easy to go into gear porn mode with these guys. Oh, okay, so it's a 4-shot launcher. Fair enough. Is that real or is this like a Nerf gun? I can't even tell. Go, look at this one. Oh, it's so cool. Like, okay. Oh, there's a pink one. That's adorable. There we go. Oh, look at that. Yeah, people act like, oh, it's pink, but it's like, dude, that'll kill you as much as any of the other ones. Oh, yes, this. This is the one. Wow, okay. I didn't think that was going to be a video. Fair enough. Let's see. Ripple effect. Okay, here we go. Let's just do. I don't care for watching that. Repel effect. Yeah, here we go. Dude, that's the guy. Oh, yeah. It looks like that has 6 shots or so. Cannon M203 launched 40 millimeter HEDP grenade. Destroy a tank or other armored vehicle? No. No elaboration. That ain't gonna work. I honestly think that people think that tanks are way more destroyable than they are. They're extremely hard to destroy. Dear God. Um, but yeah, so, okay. Let's just go ahead and... What's the explosive force of that grenade? Here we go. Do. Does a grenade launcher count as a gun? Under international law, yes. Huh, okay. Do you need a license for a grenade? Federal Explosives License Permit. Okay, well that's a lot of fun information. Goodness, I should probably... Okay, so if I were a little more thorough, I would look up their range and all of that. Thankfully, I have abstracted most of those things. So we're just going to say 6 canisters. I think that's how you spell canisters. Effect. This bulky apparatus replaces... is mounted on the shoulder. Actually, you know what? Solution. A bulky apparatus mounted over the shoulder. I'm going to say this is probably at least overclock 2. Let's actually make it 3. This is pretty dehumanizing. Shouldn't require any keywords. This is going to be about size 4. Again, it's really nice to have this information. Yeah, so this is going to be size 3. That'd fit my backpack. It's really nice to have this information just sitting here. I need to standardize the overclock for what that means, but because so far I'm just doing it by vibes. But yeah, so I gotta stop using the phrase bulky apparatus. This weapon fires a single tear gas grenade when activated. This is a ranged. Goodness. Tell me about the weapons. Do. I love this image. Kazuki outdid himself. Alright, here we go. Ordnance grenades. Here we go. Oh, I can just say they're smoke bombs. Okay, well we actually already have this weapon, so we should do tear gas, which should be a little bit different than this. I think it should be a field, and it should be rank 2. Alright, this is a ranged strike, delivering its payload of stinging gas to a field within range. Actually, yeah, no, that's fine. Every character, the billowing smoke, billowing yellow smoke is a rank 2 hazard that lasts for how many rounds should that last for? Let's do a scene for the remainder of the scene. Those affected by its burning fumes have disadvantage as they cough and weep in pain. The first round fired, the first discharge of this weapon in a round costs nothing. Additional firing requires the cost to be paid. Alright, and we can do a cost then. Whoop, that's too much. And it really should only cost like 2. Do it like that. That's pretty good. Doesn't have to end the world, but it's pretty decent. It's ranged. It's a large area. That might actually make it rank 3. I don't know. Let's see. Anyone deal with tear gas? I don't actually know how bad tear gas is. Yeah. Whoa. What? I don't want AI. I want an actual answer from a human being, you stupid... Ugh. Here, let's just go to Healthline. God, look at that. I made mine yellow because it's cool. Actually, I might make it green, but I like yellow. Alright, what is tear gas? What effects does this have? Anybody talking to me? Oh, these guys. Fair enough. Here we go. Yeah, I actually researched this stuff before I put it in the game because it it helps to core everything that's happening within a framework of how things work in our world. Now, again, this is a game about fist fighting tanks and sometimes having that work, right? So it's not a realistic game. But the tanks are realistic, the people are realistic, the guns are realistic, at least within the abstractions of the system. It's only the magic martial arts that aren't realistic, right? So the departure is clear, you know? Um, and I think that gives my game a very unique appeal and a unique playability. It is flexible but parameterized. That's the word of the day, is parameterized. Let's all shout it. Parameterized. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it's weaponized horseradish. That's great. Oh god. CR gas are more than 10,000 times more potent than the oil found in these vegetables. Ooh, I've eaten wasabi, dude. That's potent. Let's see. Most people recover from tear gas exposure without any symptoms. 1 in 15 severe symptoms. Some exposure include blah blah blah. Jesus, chemical burns. Cataracts. Oof. Ugh, yeah, all of that. Skin symptoms. Move away from the source. Seek fresh air. High ground. Remove clothing. Clear eyes and flush with water. Should I see a doctor? Interesting about. Okay, so basically, I would say it's not super clear, but I don't think people can generally withstand tear gas. Um, I'm going to increase this to rank 3 mechanically to give it really sharp teeth versus player characters, because rank 3 is mean, right? It's a big area, and again, I'm talking about not damaging them necessarily. I'm talking about giving them disadvantage. Um, so I think rank 3 is enough that it's going to pull off a pretty significant amount of your offensive resources if you find yourself in one of these things. And you can cover a huge area with it. You only have 6 canisters, so you can't like completely carpet bomb things unless you have like refill canisters. And even then it would get kind of pricey to do that. Um, I might reduce it from field to area. Yeah. Because I like that. I like how long it lasts, right? You hit an area and then you smoke them out of it. That's really good. I like that. I think that feels good. It feels like you're selecting targets to close off tactically, and they can make the decision to try to use their resources to get rid of it. But the other thing they can do is if they're a tough character, they might just be able to deal with it or hold their breath or whatever. So let's see. Yeah, I won't be able to hold their breath because it can actually burn your eyes and your skin. So, but you could just tough it out. Yeah, actually, I really like that. That mounted gas grenade launcher is pretty mean. Actually, I might even increase the rank by another one because all it gives you is disadvantage. Oh. If any character ends around still in an area filled with the caustic fumes, they take 1d10 aggravation. I'm going to say if any affected character. Aggravation. There we go. If any affected character ends a round still in an area filled with the caustic fumes, they take 1d10 aggravation towards a chemical burn, physical imbalance. Do I need to define chemical burn physical imbalance? I don't think I do. I think they can figure out what that means. Okay, I like that. That's really good. So that's the mounted gas grenade launcher done. The shock mace implant is the next one. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're actually writing things now. I'm kind of rolling. Goodness, this is a lot of fun. There we go. Let's see. Okay. Replaces a hand. Cost, probably... Ooh. Actually, what would the cost be on that one? I don't think about it. It doesn't have any ammo, but it should. You should just be able to zap it. All right. A spiked metal sphere, topping a long a short metal rod topped in a malicious spiked ball. This wicked implement counts as a... What kind of weapons do I have? Is it a heavy? It'd be at least a heavy weapon. Yeah, weapons and armor. Bare hands, staff, sword. Would it be a sword? Nah, it'd be heavy. Because you're whacking people with it, so... As a heavy weapon. When the cost is paid, it erupts in a cackling electrical erupts in a cackling electrical halo. This delivers a powerful shock, rank 3. I think I actually have this. Exposure, water, air, earth, wood, metal. Here we go. Yeah, electrocution, metal hazard. Wow, that's actually how you spell electrocution. Check me out. Alright, when the cost is paid, erupts in a cackling electrical halo, so it's a powerful shock to anyone who touches it this round. Oh, no it isn't. Electrocution. This effect automatically applies to any enemy struck and is sustainable. There we go. Sustainable, overclock 2, size, probably only size 1, honestly. That's rank 3, cost 12. Easy. That's actually pretty powerful. I love it. And it costs your hand, so it reduces what you can do with your hand. So that's nice. Yeah, that works pretty good. Shock mace implant. You just get a big ol' heavy shock mace. Blam blammy bloom! And it's a heavy weapon too, which is not possible to disarm because it's a physical part of your body. Neural disruption spike. Okay, so this is... Let me show you what this is. This is the RoboCop spike. Yeah, this bad boy. That's the guy right there. This is, like, talk about loading Chekhov's gun. Like, look at this. It looks at this dude, like ice cold, right? He's got the terror in his face. That's the how I would be looking. I would definitely be peeing myself in this scenario. Flips open his fingers, and this spike comes out, and he's just like, "Am I about to die?" And it's like, "No, no, man. This is just for getting information from this machine." And he puts it in the machine, and he figures it out. And then later on, he's fighting Clarence Boddicker. Has got like the most accountant look and name ever, and is one of the most fiendish freaking bad guys. Like he's just such a bastard. He finally tears his face off with it. Man, it takes the whole movie too. I was waiting for that the whole time. God, it's so beautiful. There we go. Oh, that's from RoboCop 2. It's the drug lord's brain. Oh my lord! Look at that thing. Bye, Clarence. But yeah, that's this. So they put this. I am stealing from the alchemicals here, and they stole from RoboCop. Um, their version of this, as I recall, when you stab it into somebody, you can take over their brain with it. I've kind of already got take over your brain powers, like the thought flare apparatus is gonna do that. Um, so this, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I want this to do. I like the idea that you can use it as a weapon and stab people with it. I think that's fun. Um, it's gonna be kind of small, actually. Well, you know, honestly, these should be way bigger. These should be way bigger. I almost feel like this could be a lot smaller. I'll make it big enough that it can't be small. Yeah, this stuff should all be really big and bulky. All right, neural disruption spike. Oh my lord in heaven! Again, like it's concealed on him though, so I almost feel like maybe I should move some of these around. Like the thermalocular enhancements are probably better up here because they're big bulky things that go over your eyes. Um, the shock mace implant could probably get swapped with the bulletproof trench coat upgrade. Um, the mimetic virus engine, I could make this bulkier. Instead of size 1, I could make it like size 4. Um, still though, okay, so this conceptually might be a little tough. I'm getting a little sleepy, so I think I might wrap this up here in a couple of minutes. Um, but yeah, so I got to figure out what this is going to do. The thought flare apparatus is obviously going to annihilate their puny little brains. The unwilling operative implanter is going to Lee Harvey Oswald someone's brain, so you make them a puppet basically. Really useful on NPCs, of limited utility against more powerful characters. Demoralization broadcasters just make people sad. It bludgeons their values down or replaces them with state-approved values. The frag grenade launcher installation is going to do something very similar to this power. It's going to be fragmentation grenades instead of gas grenades. I'll probably only give it 4 shots and make them really destructive. So I think that'll work really good. And again, I'm going to make it similar where you can just fire it over and over again. I think that'll be great. Oof, yeah, actually I'm getting kind of sleepy. I've been streaming for a while now, though. How long have I been on here? Oh, 2 hours. Oh my god. Okay. Well, I think that's probably enough, everyone. This was a lot of fun. I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, you can see my head like bobbing back and forth. Look at that. Is it synchronized perfectly? I'm interested. I'm gonna go back and forth and see what happens. Okay, now we got 2 of them going. Dun dun dun, matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Find me a find, catch me a catch. Okay, that's enough of that. But yeah, so I now know what I'm gonna do with these. I'm getting a little sleepy. I'm getting a little eepy. I'm sure you're all kind of weary as well. Thank you for tuning in and watching. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do some stuff. I'm gonna try to finish this writing today. I just hope you all were really entertained by all of my by all of my work and my little creative process here. That's enough for now. Let's export this mess to YouTube, and I will see you guys next time. Farewell.